Goes to the Polls' #1 mission has been to not only get people registered to vote, but make sure they go to the polls, and also to fight voter suppression.
In Wisconsin, we understand that the vote of people of color is very important, because most of the time the white vote is split right in half. And we understand that if we vote, we make a difference. And that's really some sheer power. And we just decided that, we wanted to express that with going out and voting and making sure that people, understood their power. And the only way we could do that was with working with our churches, because that is the last bastion of power that we have in our community. We don't have businesses, we don't own homes, but the church is still there. And now we work with over 540 faith leaders and their church members to get souls to the polls, to get out votes.
I've heard, and I know you've probably heard, some people say that they don't think their vote counts. But really, when you look back at some of the systems that are in place and some of the things that have taken place, you know that there are a lot of things that are being done to stop people from voting. So if your vote didn't count, then those things wouldn't be done, right?
Voter suppression is prevalent now. There's all kind of issues that people of color, school students, elderly, handicapped, there's all kind of obstacles and issues that they have to overcome to make it simple for them to vote. And you're right, we always say, man, it doesn't matter. It does matter. Why do you think people spend so much time and energy and money making sure that you don't vote? This isn't checkers, it's chess, because they already know that people are saying exactly what you just expressed. My vote doesn't count. So they're not going to go out of their way, to go and vote. Registration is harder. See, all these things are quite strategic, because they already know that if I already have skepticism, I'm not going out too far to vote. Voting is important. And if your community doesn't vote, you don't get resources. So your vote really does count in so many ways.
Then we had the pandemic, and you talk about it being hard to get people to, get out and go to the polls, but I think that people were motivated. So that takes me back to April of 2020, really right when the pandemic was,
Wow.
really staring at all of us in the face, and none of us really knew how things were going to go. But you had the state Supreme Court overturn Governor Evers' decision to postpone that general election. So people were standing in lines, and there were 5 polls out of 180 for people to vote in the middle of a pandemic. It made national headlines. What went through your mind during that time?
Well, I was pretty close to that situation, because the lawsuit to change the date of the election, my name was on that lawsuit. At that point, I had attracted the virus. I couldn't go vote because I was quarantined. So when I was watching that, I get emotional. Wow.
Yeah, it was a lot. It's okay.
When I was watching those people in line wanting to vote, I said, this is nuts. It could be like me.
Yeah.
And it was only 5 places. I was devastated just watching it. I was devastated. And it was incredibly cruel to ask those people to go out, stand in line. It was raining and snowing, and they still stood there. Man, that's why I knew at that time. I said, our community can't lose, because if you're going to do if you're going to take that time to do that, if you're going to stand up like that, we can't lose. And they didn't change the date of the election, but what happened is our lawsuit forced them to count the number of absentee ballots after the election all the way up to the next Monday. That was 113,000 votes.
Wow.
You can't treat black and brown people differently because you don't think they're going to vote for you. If you want to help people, they'll vote for you. If you don't want to help them, you can't expect them to vote for you. And that's why we do this, because we have to stand up. You know, and I always say, man, I'll be crawling on my knees. I'll be biting and scratching and trying to grab everything I can before I let people continue to treat our community the way they do, because I don't want to die with the community in this condition. Yeah. And that's why we do this. And see, and that's how you have to fight back. That's how we fight racism. That's how we fight bigotry. That's how we fight these things. We have to stand up. People are never going to love the people in my community, but you can get respect if you stand up for yourself, and that's what we do.
Fair representation in the legislature matters, and the fight over redistricting after the 2020 census is on the horizon. Coming up, I talked to Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes about voting rights and the fight for fair districts. We'll hear that conversation after the break.